What about people like Jonas Salk, who was a medical scientist that studied polio and then from that developed the first successful vaccine? Rather than taking joy in God's apparent creations, this is a man that identified an issue and set out to eradicate it from the population. Greetings there and welcome people to YouTube. This is Essence of 40 and I'm doing my 7th video in my God of Wonders series. So with that, let's just get straight into it.
An estimated 18,000 butterfly species adorn our planet.
Why? What is the point? Because they're pretty? All that time and energy that God apparently has put into doing this, which you quite clearly are claiming and how you're hyping it up, all of that could have been spent in designing a better system, one that doesn't fall apart at the seams, a less cruel system, a less disgraceful system. But, no, I'm going to go make some butterflies that look pretty. At least the theory of evolution has a reasonable explanation as to why there's such a wide diversity of life.
The beautiful coloration of butterfly wings is created by millions of minute scales. These precision scales function as biophotonic crystals, reflecting specific wavelengths of light to produce these brilliant colors. The extraordinary patterns and pleasing colors reveal
Is it God?
A wise and caring designer.
I called it. I must be psychic.
One of the amazing things I find about the butterfly is its beautiful iridescence. Take, for example, the morpho butterfly. Morpho butterflies have a beautiful blue-type iridescence, but then when biologists many decades ago began to look at the scales of the butterfly, they didn't find any pigmentation cells. They found instead biophotonic structures. They found structures that are designed by the Creator to absorb certain wavelengths of white light and reflect back to the viewer only that wavelength of light within the spectrum of a bluish-purple color.
No, that's not how it works. You see, you can't just go, God, every time science makes a discovery. Now, if there was a passage in the Bible which stated the following, "Do not your eyes often deceive you? Butterflies carry not scales, but absorb the light into their biophotonic structures, only releasing certain wavelengths of color," then you would have an argument. But because the Bible lacks that predictive scientific capability, no.
We have found that using an electron microscope, there are structures there that can have no more variation than 0.00004 millimeters. A wonderful testament to God's design.
It needs to be to that degree of accuracy to do what? Get the right color, to have it as prominent as it is. We need you to be more specific than this. And also, remember the fact that insects often see color differently to us. They often see colors that we cannot. For example, a lot of flowers have a lot of signals we can't see. Insects can. So it fails on that point as well.
All butterflies undergo an amazing transformation during their life cycle. The insect begins as an egg, then a crawling caterpillar, followed by the pupa stage. During this stage, the caterpillar begins to convulse in rhythmic jerks, breaking off its outer skin. Its legs and head capsule are quickly shed, giving rise to a chrysalis. Then, within the first day, the caterpillar's organs disintegrate into a soupy liquid. Miraculously, after 1 to 2 weeks, a complex winged butterfly emerges.
So the qualifier for miracle these days is an understood biological process. The cells just break down into an undifferentiated cell type, just like a stem cell, and then rearrange themselves into a second phase of structure. That's it. There is no magic involved in it.
This metamorphosis takes place in a matter of days, not millions of years.
As much as I gather that this was an attempted stab at evolution, which has absolutely nothing to do with metamorphosis except for in how it occurred, it really backfires. You see, here you have an example of how a single organism changes into a second form as it ages. And that you're okay with. But then you have a massive issue with gradual changes between generations, adding up to a greater degree of change through those generations. That you have a problem with. It sounds like you've actually just knocked yourself out. If I didn't know better, I'd say that the presenter has suddenly come to the realization that everything he just stated before is complete and utter bull, and that he suddenly, he's gone out to sabotage the rest of the documentary. Sadly, I do know better.
The adult butterfly now has 6 segmented legs, antennae, a specialized feeding tube, 2 amazing compound eyes, complex reproductive organs, and 4 ornate wings. The caterpillar had none of these features. Clearly, the genetic instructions for all these stages were programmed into the insect by the Creator from the beginning.
Or metamorphosis was just the most efficient way for certain insects to go from the larval to the full adult stage, A fact that is supported by the way that over 64% of insects do go through metamorphosis. Anyway, the fossil records show that metamorphosis first started occurring anywhere between 280 to 300 million years ago. The way that this could have been beneficial to those creatures is the way that it removes competition from offspring and adults. They're no longer fighting over the same food source, which means that the adults can go on to procreate, create more offspring, whilst the other generation continues to grow, eat, and then, eventually go for metamorphosis themselves. So there's that. And then also, not all larval forms are completely different to their final stage. Some larvae have already got traits of their adult form. For example, silkworms have wings underneath their skin, which, it's because they become silk moths in the end. So, there's that. And also, this shows how you can have different stages of metamorphosis. You can have the way that every insect sheds its skin as it grows. That's the most basic thing. Then you have some insects that as they get older, they do gradually change. Dragonflies, the silkworm as mentioned, they have adult features and they do change. Then you have things like beetles, you have bees, you have moths, you have butterflies, where they do go from the larval stage, all the way to the adult stage. That's like the greatest change. So you do have this gradual occurrence on how metamorphosis has developed. It's almost like the eye. You can, see how the eye has evolved. You can look at basic shadow detecting sensors, get a lens, you get a retina, etc., and it develops over time to the idea of an eye that we have, every functioning part going together. It is possible to come up with a way that evolution could have led to metamorphosis. So yes, that's that.
When a butterfly changes from a caterpillar to a chrysalis to a butterfly, there are 2 completely different designs here. One design is for the caterpillar, that's the initial stage, and all that does is creep around on the backside of a leaf, and it munches and eats all day, increases its size about 250 times, that's all it does. But then it goes into the chrysalid, it turns into liquid, and then it comes out with a totally different design. What was the butterfly designed to do? Well, that was designed to fly, of course, but the caterpillar wasn't. It was designed to drink the nectar from the flowers, but at the same time fertilize the flowers. It was designed to mate, and it was designed to be able to migrate from one country to the other, several thousand miles in some cases. So it's designed for specific things. The caterpillar has one thing to do, to grow, eat and grow. And the butterfly has several things to do: eat, grow, fertilize, and mate.
Monarch butterflies have this, instinctual trait where when they are passing over Lake Superior, in Michigan, North America, they'll be traveling southwards because it's the most direct route. Then suddenly, they'll change course, they'll head east. Just go along east for so long, and then they'll change back southwards. And, this has puzzled scientists as to why they do this. But one of the proposed reasons for this is that it's kind of a vestigial instinct, if you think about it. Where there was once a barrier, or in this case, a mountain range there that was, impassable for the small insects because the amount of energy they would have exerted going over, and also the conditions that they would have met, it would have been far worse than actually going around and dealing with that way. However, the mountain has eroded, but that instinct, which was so deeply ingrained into the insects, has not. Now, whether this is the case is certainly up for discussion. I mean, the environment matches it, the way that the mountains formed, the way that it was eroded, the glacial ice, etc. It was over a mile thick there, and the way that we've got limestone deposits, we've got, dolostone, we've got tactonite, we've got shale there. These are all sedimentary rocks that have been compacted down. So, there is some evidence for this, whether this is the case or not. Still doesn't change the fact that randomly, if your God's idea for butterflies is that they pollinate stuff and they look pretty for us, why does he have them detour in the middle of a lake for no reason whatsoever? It makes no sense. And this is your idea of a breakdown in nature, that some reason God just decided that the butterflies just go a different course.
Thousands of years ago, Scripture declared what was common knowledge to everyone. For example, in the book of Job, chapter 12, we read, "But now ask the beasts, and they will teach you, and the birds of the air, and they will tell you. Or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, and the fish of the sea will explain to you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this?"
Is this the same book of Job that went on about unicorns in chapter 39 verses 9, the behemoth in chapter 40 verses 15 through 24, and the Leviathan in chapter 41? Maybe not the best source for your zoological information.
If we examine the evidence that we see, the various things that have been created, it is very clear from the Scriptures that the evidence points to the reality that there is a Creator who has made all things.
Except for the fact that every single thing that we have discussed throughout this entire series can arise due to natural explanations. And on top of that, the Bible gets so many of the facts wrong. For more details on this, watch through episodes 3 through 6. So, yeah. That is an issue for you there.
Our great Creator has provided us with countless examples of His infinite wisdom. The functionality and ingenuity of God's creatures surpass our understanding and are cause for unending thanksgiving and worship.
So yes, this is the end of this episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I know it's not been as long as the other episodes exactly, but I am just going to do it by the segments that it comes in, as it was much easier to do it that way than what I did at the beginning, where I just lumped segments together. So yes, anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed. We've now finished the animal kingdom, I'm going to say, and the animal and plant kingdom, we've done all that aspects. We are now going on to humans, I believe. So it's going to be philosophy, moral arguments, all that. So it should be a blast. So yes, this is Essence of Thought. I hope you have enjoyed, and out.